Your child melts down in the grocery store and you feel that familiar frustration rising. Why can't they just control themselves? The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning, impulse control, and decision-making, doesn't fully mature until around age 25. This makes it the last part of the brain to fully develop. Young children's brains are still developing, especially in areas that support impulse control and emotional regulation. You're literally asking their brain to do something it's not developmentally capable of yet. When your child's face turns red and they start screaming because you said no to candy, their brain is following a very specific pathway. The amygdala, your child's brain's alarm system, detects the stress signals first: butterflies in the stomach, sweaty palms, that familiar tension. These physical sensations travel directly to the amygdala, which acts like an overly protective security guard, constantly scanning for threats. When your child hears no, this guard immediately sounds the alarm. Here's where the pathway splits. The amygdala generates rapid emotional reactions, but it should connect to the prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain, which exerts top-down control to help modulate and adapt emotional behaviors to complex or socially appropriate situations. In young children, that prefrontal cortex control system is barely online. The communication highway between your child's emotion center and their reasoning center is still under construction. When the amygdala decides your child can't handle the emotion, which happens frequently in developing brains, it bypasses the thinking brain entirely and sends signals straight to the limbic system and brainstem. This triggers what researchers call the primitive stress response. Your child isn't choosing to be difficult. Their brain is literally in survival mode, using the same neural pathways our ancestors used to escape predators. This is why the developmental window matters so much. Around age 10, children begin developing stronger connections between the amygdala and prefrontal cortex. But even then, under stress, that thinking brain can still go offline. The full maturation of these pathways, the reliable, consistent ability to regulate emotion through reasoning, doesn't complete until the mid-20s. Understanding this three-pathway system explains why your toddler's meltdown isn't a character flaw. It's neurology. When your child's amygdala bypasses their thinking brain and goes straight to primitive stress response, do you try to reason with them or focus on co-regulation first? Comment your thoughts below. Drop your answer in the comments below. Now let's explore what co-regulation actually looks like in practice. Your child's challenging behaviors aren't random acts of defiance. They're actually sophisticated communication attempts. When a toddler throws themselves on the floor, or a preschooler hits their sibling, their developing brain is using the only tools it has to tell you something important. Recent behavioral research identifies 5 core functions that drive children's actions: attention-seeking, escape from demands, access to preferred items or activities, self-stimulation for sensory regulation, and gaining control or predictability. When a child melts down because you turned off their tablet, their brain isn't thinking, "I'll manipulate with this tantrum." Instead, their amygdala is screaming, "I lost access to something I needed." The child might scream or cry so that the adult will provide what they want, not because they're manipulative, but because their prefrontal cortex can't yet formulate the words, "I was using that to regulate my overwhelmed nervous system." When a child rocks back and forth during homework time, they're not being difficult. This self-stimulating behavior functions to give the child some kind of internal sensation that pleases them or removes an internal sensation they don't like. Their developing brain is desperately trying to manage sensory input or emotional overwhelm using the regulatory tools available to them. This is where the relationship before reason principle becomes your parenting superpower. Instead of immediately jumping to consequences or logic, you acknowledge what their behavior is communicating. I can see you're really upset that tablet time ended. You weren't ready to stop. This validation doesn't mean giving in. It means the child's amygdala can begin to settle because they feel understood. Only then can you guide them toward more appropriate ways to communicate their needs. All behaviour serves a purpose. When we simply try to eliminate challenging behaviour without providing an alternative way to meet the same need, we often see the behaviour intensify or shift to a different form. Subscribe for more parenting insights and check out this next video on age-appropriate discipline strategies.